What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to the BS Show. We got a big-time question at hand for not only Brian Ortega, but for the UFC and for the Featherweight division. Brian Ortega is coming off a huge win over the Korean Zombie last weekend, where he looked absolutely amazing. As you all know, I believe about a year and a half to 2 years ago, he lost to Max Holloway, where Max Holloway just beat him to a pulp, and he won via TKO. That was Brian Ortega's first title shot, I believe. He took some time off. He recalibrated. He figured out what he needed to work on. And boy, did he look totally different than anything we've ever seen. His striking looked great. He was very patient. He just looked awesome. I mean, there's really no way to explain it other than he looked awesome against a very formidable opponent in the Korean Zombie. The Korean Zombie was coming off big-time wins. You know, he's one of the most dangerous fighters in the featherweight division. He always brings it. He's a scary dude. And for Brian Ortega, not only to beat him, but beat him in the striking battle, which I didn't foresee and I don't think a lot of people foresaw, that makes it even that much more impressive. That goes to show that Brian Ortega realized what he needed to work on. His coaches realized what he needed to work on, and they adjusted, and he looked awesome. So now we have a huge question. What do we do next with Brian Ortega? Where do we go after this big-time win? He currently sits at number 3 in the featherweight rankings. Above him is only Max Holloway and our champion Alexander Volkanovski. But what do we do? If Brian Ortega fights Max Holloway, which I would not mind seeing, but if Max Holloway wins that fight, do we give Max Holloway a third shot at Alexander Volkanovski? Max Holloway is currently 0-2 against Volkanovski, although they were very close fights. They were both decision losses. Do we want to see a number 3? That is if he cannot beat him. Or do we kind of look through the featherweight rankings and see what other opponents he can beat, maybe get another big-time win under his belt, and then give him a title shot? You know, I don't think we should rush into giving Brian Ortega a title shot right now at this very point, just simply because, he just got one win. He came back after a couple-year layoff. He got a big-time win. Let's see what else he can do. Let's see if he can continue to improve, look good, get better. But just to go through a few names here, in this featherweight division, we got Zabit, we got Yair Rodriguez, we got Korean Zombie, obviously, who we just beat. We have Calvin Kattar. We have Danny Ige, we have Edson Barboza, Josh Emmett, Jeremy Stevens. I mean, this featherweight division is absolutely stacked, and everybody in the top 10, you could make an argument that they're 1 or 2 fights away from getting a title shot. I would love to see Brian Ortega fight Zabit, Yair, Calvin Kattar. All of these guys that he would be fighting would pose the similar problem that Max Holloway did. They're all very good strikers. But now that Brian Ortega, at least against Korean Zombie, has kind of checked that off his box or his resume, that he can strike, he's got great striking, and we see that he can do it now. Brian Ortega is going to be a scary dude. We know he's got that great jiu-jitsu. We know he's got that great mindset. He comes from a great fight camp. He's got great coaches. He was always just kind of missing that striking piece to the puzzle, and now he's got it. So this is going to be scary for everybody that fights Brian Ortega. But like I said, we got Zabit and Yair. I wouldn't mind seeing him fight. I really like Josh Emmett. Josh Emmett currently sits at number 10. He fights out of Sacramento at Team Alpha Male. He's coming off 3 straight victories, and he's looking really good. I wouldn't be mad to see him fight anybody that I've named. Unfortunately for Ortega, he sits at number 3, so we might have to fight guys that aren't as high as him in the rankings. But hey, that's okay. Get a big-time win. Get a win. Get a win over Zabit, who everybody knows is great. Get a win over Yair, who also has beaten the Korean Zombie. He's beaten Jeremy Stevens. He's got a 2-fight win streak here. There's plenty of options for Brian Ortega, but I could definitely see Brian Ortega getting in and getting in that championship fight against Alexander Volkanovski at some point. I think Alexander Volkanovski poses a huge threat to Brian Ortega. I think he's tough, he's gritty, he's got great striking, and anybody that can go toe-to-toe with Max Holloway and beat him twice, that's a pretty darn good fighter, especially considering Max Holloway, by a lot of people's standards, is the GOAT in the featherweight division. He's kind of taken that crown from Jose Aldo, since he beat him twice. And, he was running through that division for the longest time until Volkanovski came along. So Volkanovski would be a great fight, but we got to get him there first. So let me know in the comments below who you want to see Brian Ortega fight and should he get that title shot. Thanks.